Hello, hi everyone. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be here and share a case study that from the project I did in the past. So I think yesterday, after hearing all this talk, and I think I decided to slightly change the topic, and not topic, I think the title of the presentation. I'm just going to focus on in terms of delivering the value through the tech and then with a clear purpose. And of course, I think my background is coming from the technical background. I am by profession enterprise architect and specialize in integration. And most of the projects I involved are usually part of the digital transformation journey, M&A or greenfield projects. And I'm also, yes, I think very excited to be here because I know the audience here has a good mixture between designers and also architects and also many others, I think, that have a very interesting title that I dream to work with, one day. So I think the example I'm going to talk about is Johnson Matthey, and in terms of the purpose, how this purpose guiding them through the digital transformation journey, and of course, capability, value chains, and how that really frame and shape that decision, along the line down to all these digital initiatives. So first, I would like to start by asking the question, why purpose? I think why the purpose, at the end of the day, sounds probably sometimes quite generic or a bit fake. And I think maybe sometimes we think, okay, these words, what do they really mean? Because sometimes they could sound a bit empty. What is a meaningful purpose? What does that mean? So I did a bit research. I pulled this purpose from some of these companies that we're all very familiar with. In terms of what they stated on their website, so what purpose? And I would like everyone to take a moment and just to observe the purpose here on the slides and see what you feel, what do you observe, and anything that caught your eyes. Is there anyone would like to share maybe their findings? Yes, I know they're recently on the news. Yes. Yeah.
Many of them are interchangeable.
Yes, interchangeable means open for interpretation.
Yeah, so you could switch around the names of the companies.
Yeah.
To some extent, and still feel
Right.
like it could fit.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would like to share my findings. So I think, for example, Starbucks. They say, well, we want to make the best coffee, but not just to make the best coffee, but how we're going to make it. So it's we making the best coffee at the same time when maintaining our uncompromising principle and when they grow. And the same with Patagonia. Is that we want to make the best product, but not just make the product, but at the same time cause no harm to this environment. And also, recently the CEO already announced they're going to donate all their profit to fight climate change. Yes. Yes. So I think is all these companies, I can see that because currently recently there is a rising awareness in terms of sustainability and ESG. We can see these companies, they are incorporating this into their purpose. It's not just about what they do, but how they do it. And this is a quote from Hackman, snippet, which I like in terms of how he defined what is a purposeful business. And purposeful business, not just to create profits, but also through creating value for society. And I think creating profits, usually we think, okay, and the making good is like two exclusive goals, how they can work together. So making profit, because we have to make sure that the business is an economically viable business, enterprise, and at the same time, when they're making profit, not at the expense of something else, whether, for example, cheap child labors or causing down the planet in terms of the environment we're living in. So I think when we have a clear purpose, that allows us to ask the right question and solve the relevant problems. And that's why I picked today, Johnson Matthey as the case study. And in terms of how we're using the purpose and the guiding through our digital transformation journey. And so a little bit about Johnson Matthey. Probably it's not a consumer brand, so probably most of you are not familiar with. And it's a VC 100 company listed in London Stock Exchange. And it's a over 200 years old company, and they have site location over 30 different countries and over 13,000 employees. And then some other interesting factors is 1 in every 3 new cars on the road there, they are probably using GM's catalyst converters. And also, yes, they create the world's first circular economy by recycling and reusing precious group metals. And don't ask me the detail in terms of what that is. I'm not a chemist, but I think it's just to show their what they do, and also what some of the key milestones they have achieved on their journey. And also, I think it's not about the digital transformation journey, but as a whole company in terms of the history, I think it's quite an interesting one. Because 200 years ago, they started with the metal refining, and then they moved to the catalyst in automotive, and they sold diesel cars, producing the catalyst, and then now on the journey to a larger and greener business. And their vision is having a cleaner and a healthy world. And I think that's a very strong statement that we all feel that we can connect it to. And here is to give you a big idea in terms of the size and also complexity of their digital transformation journey. They started in 2018, and when I was there, it was between 2019 and 2020. And the journey started, the total budget was like over 200 million across the 5 years. And because at the time there was, I think, the digital disruption, we know there's a lot of potential. What technology can help the company and to, innovating in the services or products, and also transforming the business in the operation, entirely. And I think the challenge we had at the time was, okay, with all this potential, then which is the right one? Which one is the right fit? Which is one aligned to the group's, the whole business strategy? So and these are all public information. So the journey is, I think on the top is where the business focus, like clean air, efficient natural resource, health, new materials, and then also they on the journey and start to be more focused in pivoting on these markets. Yeah, so these are just say, well, on this whole journey, digitalization, how we helping them to achieving that business goals, and it's supporting them, their R&D, the scientists, and the inventing the materials, and or repurpose their capability and serving on the new markets. Okay, so here is a general, I think, the challenge I see in many large digital transformation projects. I think usually there's a first challenge is you can see these pyramids. There's always a big disconnect between the top and the bottom. I think because you can see like large company, there's many layers in the middle. So usually message could possibly get lost or miscommunicated or misunderstood. And I would say lots of the transformation projects or digital initiatives, we start probably at this level, most of us. We work on the efficiency. We try to improve, with how, connecting the data, connecting the process, connecting the system. And even the project is well executed on time and budget, but at the end, it might still get thrown away. And why? Because it might not necessarily deliver the value that's aligned with the business strategy or business priority, or not necessarily adding the new value that's for intended business outcome. And so I think the challenge we have is sometimes at the company, at the board level, they're usually more forward-looking. They look at what's kind of going to happen in the next 3-5 years. But most of us working here, we're looking at the present, what's coming, what's in front of us. And sometimes if the board or the management team say, yeah, okay, we wanted to be able to handle more orders, I mean more volume, like maybe double or 20% more. And then here, probably you will hear the IT team say, no, we can't do it. Maybe we're still dealing with a SAP ERP version -1. So it just is a sort of a conflict in terms of how we're going to move forward. There's a vision, and also there's a reality, and then also even the legacy that we have to manage with. And I think that the secret is really having that shared purpose. Yes, go ahead. Go on. Okay, we can have a Q&A afterwards. So having that shared purpose, I think that creates a motion of action moving forward. And so I think that helps us to think we're not just working on this efficiency level, but how we are delivering value, the strategic value for the business. So that's wanted to bring the example in terms of in Johnson Matthey and how they did it, and they also how they articulating their purpose down from the top to that pyramids to the layers into the execution. So at the top is accelerating a cleaner, healthy world. And the strategy is how we're going to do it. So it's quite broad, right? So we're going to catalyst the best narrow transitions for their customers in automotive, chemical, and energy industries. So that's their statement, that's their approach, that's how they're going to tackle this issue, or how they're going to help their customer. And it's still quite generic. I think in IT, they will think, well, how IT is playing the role to enable that happens. And so this slide is, I just want to give an example in how I think the management team made a great effort in articulating what does that mean in all these areas. So in terms of the product, services, people, operation. And in this area, how they're going to serve the customer, how they're going to help the customer fighting for, net zero. And for example, that means they're going to help them to drive lower global greenhouse gas emissions, enable less harmful air pollution, and also internally operation, how they're going to deliver that, how they operate, and ensure that they also meeting that ESG guidelines. For example, they set themselves reaching the net zero target by 2040. And also they have plans, they have factories, like, how they're going to use energy more efficiently and reduce the water waste in their factory, in their plant. And also people, in terms of keeping their people working in the factory safe. And also, how they engage with the community, how they contribute, and then contribute back to the society. So there was a lot of initiatives that I think at the time, the whole digital initiative, it's not just the technology, but also people operation. A lot of other part that sort of join that together to make sure that everyone is working on the same path. And then we have the process to shape the ideas. The process is because we have this articulate all these in terms of the goal for each of the areas, how we're going to achieve that. But the ideas is we have this process which is from idea to shape to point of value, proof of value to root to life. And this process is a sort of a bottom up in terms of from all part of the business, from R&D, from manufacturer, from corporate function. They're thinking, how they can leverage digital or technology to improve their ways of working, or how they can do it different, how they can innovate. So these ideas, and then we have this process, and also like a gate, street, like a review board to manage and filter, qualify these ideas. And then as it goes through to the next level, of course, they need to provide more information. They need to meet more criteria in order it to be approved. And then the enterprise architecture team was mainly involved in the review board, which is the last one. So this one, I think where is also the IT and the business coming together. Because traditionally, I think the scientists or business, they sort of maybe run their own IT, and the IT is purely just a support function. So this was also there's an alignment in terms of bring IT and business together. And I know like usually it's when companies are going through this kind of transformation, and sometimes it could be there's a conflict or I think heated maybe debate in between. But I think in Johnson Matthey, I think that was working quite nicely because they have a shared goal, and I think the challenge was understanding each other because they speak completely different language. For example, like people working in the lab, they all PhD, and then they're talking about the language, and I think that we don't understand. So I think it was like how IT, in order to build this capability, we need to also create a shared language. So I think EA was being that review board and sort of being provide like I think providing a governance in terms of how we are delivering these projects. So we be able to see the synergy across different ideas. Maybe they're going to have a shared capability, so that help us to build the capability, and then also ask if we have the capability to enable deliver those projects, and where are the gaps. So that was really a sense of working to sort of reviewing the idea, but at the same time for the EA team to align with the business, and then to capture and then develop the capability model. And so here is another, I think I just wanted to show the example in terms of how we are using these ideas and how that sort of derive into the gap in terms of where we need to build. So all these ideas coming from the business, yes, there's like compound design, screening, and some of this, and probably, I don't know in great detail, but for example, scientists, they are in the lab, they need to identify object material and using AI to be able to help them to do that quickly, and also to invent research a new material. Lots of tests that need to be done, and they need to create a model, join different data source, different results. So it's a very time-consuming, long process. And so that's sort of and also corporate function, how we can use AI to do financial consolidation. So this sort of a typical, most of common things in business, back office stuff. I think all these sort of point into a capability. It's the AI and the machine learning. And the AI and machine learning, I think we realize, yes, okay, this is the one that we're going to build. But then how we make sure that once it passes to the IT team, how we make sure we approach it, we use it in the right way. Because I know in IT, sometimes we got it and we get into the detail, and then sometimes we build stuff, but they're not necessarily aligned to what it was initial intent. So I like this articulation on the purpose in terms of how they're going to use AI machine learning for the business. And I think it's a great example for Take for Good, because some people or some companies will use maybe AI machine learning, collecting data for entertainment. And I think here, it's not about innovation. It's help scientists to innovate faster, and that's a big difference. I think that position how AI and machine learning, how they are going to use it. And then because that narrative help them to friend and how they're going to design the solution, and then perhaps prioritize where to start and scoping the project. And also in terms of making trade-off decisions. Because maybe, we want to do AI machine learning, but perhaps this is a lot of foundation that's not there yet. Perhaps the cloud is not ready. We'll not be able to shift such a huge volume of data to the cloud. It's okay, we stay on-premise. So it's like, understand that end goal is to help the scientists be able to accelerate their innovation. I think that was the key message. and that helped where we position the AI and machine learning used in Johnson Matthey. So here is the mission statement from Johnson Matthey's E18, which is I like it because I think it really explained in terms of their role, their function, and how they help to bridge the strategy on the top and also the execution in at the digital projects. So their architecture's overarching purpose is to rally the organization around the business strategy, translate the strategy into capabilities and requirements, and design their architecture and technology to that purpose. And here I just wanted to recap and give a high-level view. It's a very simplified view, but I think when you work in a very complex environment, sometimes have that simplified view, it really helps sort of keep us stay focused and work on what really matters. So these just show the sort of value chain from the market, the customer, and then we sort of then look back into our capability, the service of the product, so it's more like a business solution, what we're going to offer and serve the markets. And also the required capability, how we're going to enable it. And of course, these are all very simplified in terms of capabilities here. And certainly there's a very complex down there. I'm not going into the detail in that space. And I think, and I also wanted to sort of recap in terms of the purpose that we mentioned at the earlier slide, in terms of how that sort of keep us working in different part of the business, stay focused, and make sure that whatever we do and is aligned and how it sort of fulfilling that bigger goal in the organization. And the capability part, this is where the enterprise architecture team are involved and then also contributing and facilitating in terms of whole value chain mapping and whenever they need to pivot, when they need to reorganize their capability, they understanding that impact upstream, downstream system. And so here's also just a simplified view in terms of how the E18 was actually playing a role, just that feedback group in terms of, from the top-down business strategy and down to like defining the business capability model, and then also down to the enabling the technology systems. And then that also feed back to the business model and strategy, because sometimes there's a reality, there's a, I would say, constraint, and we need to maybe innovate or come up with a solution. So it's a sort of a loop feedback in terms of how we're shaping, refine that strategy. And then the most of all important is this creates a shared framework, a shared language, and a few points for everybody that's working in such a complex environment. And so I wanted to share just sort of learning probably or my personal observation from the past 5-10 years of a large organization going through the digital transformation. I think they're all facing their speed challenge, complexity, and the digital maturity. So the speed is we're going to digital, so everything should move fast, but actually no. Initially, I think, new structure, new process, new ways of working is actually slow everyone down. And I think sometimes, even you have legacy system that's been there for 20, 30 years, so not everyone is moving on the same speed. And I think the solution for this, or what I observe is, I think the communication is very important as corporate communication. Lots of companies I see that works well, they invest in this part, communicate what's happening and also inform what's coming. So ensure everyone working their own, but not disconnected for the rest part of the business. And then the complexity, I think I can't emphasize enough is, as EA, we need to try to help them to simplify and simplify and simplify. It doesn't mean to simpler, but we need to simplify it. Sometimes we don't know if we're looking at the tree or woods. Sometimes the senior management team, they don't understand IT. So when something being escalated to the top, they don't know how big the problem is. and then how they size in the problem. I think having this capability model, having framework, help them to see the layers and the things. I think providing that big picture is super helpful. And also digital maturity. I think we all need to learn some baby work before we can fly or run. So I think sometimes there's so much we can do, but in some company in the situation, they are in the surviving mode, they are in the pivoting mode, they need to move fast. And they need to get from point B to point A. But sometimes with people in IT, we get excited, and which that happened to me as well before. And so when we talk about, for example, AI, machine learning, we got this sort of new shining object syndrome. We can spend so much time trying to figure out which is the best one to do. But sometimes we just need to make sure we can get A. It doesn't matter what car we drive. So at the end, I just want to, So the first summarize the orders of the digital transformation program that I would like to emphasize is purpose first, and strategy and technology. I think having clarity understanding why, and then not everything can be resolved by technology. Not everything needs a technology solution. I think sometimes it's a business solution, and understand how we're going to do it, and then we say, well, what technology, what we're going to build, so we know that we work on the right things and in the right orders. And this is a takeaway. So when employees are joined by a common purpose, it helps everyone to stay focused and work on what really matters. And then also, they can help to make the trade-off decisions homogeneously across the layers, especially in complex situations. Okay, so thank you, everyone. And